Welcome. Today we're undertaking a focused analysis of, well, one of the most dedicated, organized, and globally extensive fandoms in modern music history.
We're talking about the communities surrounding the Colombian musical icon, Shakira.
And the sheer volume of source material we've gathered is pretty staggering. It covers everything from, the logistics of their charitable work to deep cultural analysis of her early fashion.
It really makes it clear this is far more than just a casual following.
That's right. So our mission in this discussion is to unpack this body of research.
We want to understand the foundational identity, the impressive history, and the profound cultural impact of this audience.
The goal here is to give you, the listener, a comprehensive shortcut to becoming well-informed on what is a remarkable and, frankly, very complex cultural phenomenon.
It is. And when we talk about this group, the sources often define it very simply.
Just the community of fans of the Colombian singer Shakira.
Right, but that neutral phrasing, it just completely fails to capture the immense scale and the incredible breadth of who actually makes up this community.
It's truly exceptional. Our sources highlight a remarkably broad demographic.
This is a fandom that's noted as being composed of people of all ages and from vastly different cultures.
But it had to start somewhere. The sources point to a specific cultural foundation that really set the stage for this global entity.
They do. The book Shakira Enamorada desde el Corazón describes the phenomenon as Shakira enjoying what was characterized as a cult following.
A cult following.
Particularly within Hispanic communities during her formative years. That initial, really passionate loyalty was the fertile ground from which this immense global structure eventually grew.
And as we move through our sources, we have to recognize that this is a relationship, the celebrity-fan relationship, that is defined by its complexity.
Absolutely. The material doesn't just showcase the heartwarming, positive stories.
Things like the impressive, highly structured charitable activism the fans undertake.
No, we also have to face the difficult realities documented in the sources regarding the safety challenges of global stardom.
And that includes some concerning aspects of harassment and obsession.
Understanding that full spectrum is absolutely critical for this analysis. We need to handle this conversation with the necessary impartiality and sensitivity.
Our role is to report on the material as it's presented.
Exactly, covering both the immense good the community achieves and the severe difficulties the artist has faced due to the actions of a few individuals. Grasping this duality is essential to understanding the reality of being a superstar with such an intensely engaged global audience.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. At the very moment this force really came together, we have to discuss the inception of this huge following, which the sources term Shakira mania.
Shakira mania. And it wasn't just a marketing moment, it was a bona fide cultural explosion that cemented the fan base's core identity.
So when did this happen?
Television media and cultural analysts, they all identify its peak in the mid-1990s.
And crucially, this period perfectly aligns with her highly successful debut in the major music market,
Which became a record-breaking phase for her career. The timing was everything.
The cultural weight of this moment feels huge, and our sources give us the language to understand why. Rolling Stone, for instance, had a pretty definitive description of her impact at this stage.
They did. They stated that she essentially redefined Latin rock and pop.
That is not a small claim. It's not just about record sales. It speaks to a fundamental re-engineering of popular music genres.
To really unpack that claim, the redefinition of Latin rock, we have to look at the sources that detail her musical fusion. Shakira wasn't just performing standard pop.
No, she was combining the lyrical depth and the raw energy of rock structures with very specific elements of Colombian folklore and pop melody.
That's the key. The sources describe her early work as blending elements like traditional cumbia with grunge-influenced guitars.
Which created this unique, instantly identifiable sound.
And this fusion challenged the existing status quo of Latin rock. It moved it away from, strictly emulating US or UK rock and towards something fiercely indigenous yet universally appealing.
And this foundational musical shift, it came hand in hand with an incredibly distinct aesthetic that the fans latched onto almost instantly.
We see the defining look emerging strongly with the success of her 1995 album, Pies Descalzos, and especially with Donde Están los Ladrones.
So what was that look?
That was the era of the rocker look. The sources detail the exact elements that defined her stage persona for several years.
We're talking about leather pants.
The leather pants, the heavy metal-style bracelets, and perhaps most recognizably, the prominent, often dark or dyed, characteristic hair that moved wildly during her performances.
That image became inseparable from the music, didn't it? It was her essential rebellious brand.
It was. But the influence wasn't singular. We often forget the parallel image during this time.
Right, the sources also mention the hippie look.
Exactly, associated specifically with the softer, more acoustic sound of the Pais Descaldos album. That look was also widely received and emulated.
So it showed a duality even in her early image.
Yes, a rock edge, coexisting with a more earthy, vulnerable side.
And the key is that this wasn't just something fans observed from a distance. It immediately sparked a widespread participatory trend.
That's right. The sources confirm that young people, and particularly girls in Latin countries, were not passively enjoying her music.
They were actively adopting her appearance, trying to sing like her, and critically trying to master her specific dancing style.
And the level of detail provided about the fashion is very telling. This was not a general trend. It was a specific stylistic movement.
The sources highlight that the wearing of colored braids, the leather pants, and specific shirts paired with bracelets, it all became a common daily fashion staple in the late 1990s.
It was a visible stylistic revolution, really, fueled by music videos and album promotional images that spread rapidly.
And to truly appreciate the initial cultural spread of Shakira mania, we need to recognize its immediate transcontinental reach.
The sources provide concrete examples, noting that this specific fashion influence, the rocker and hippie mix, was strong enough to impact daily fashion life in geographically disparate countries.
Places like Spain, Turkey,
In Mexico and Argentina. This early influence confirms that even before her major English crossover, Shakira was already a continental and a major transcontinental cultural force.
she was capable of driving mass fashion adoption on a huge scale.
But the inflection point, of course, was the global breakthrough.
Exactly.
The key transition documented in the sources was when the crossover was made to the world market. At that moment, Shakira mania just expanded exponentially.
So that early rock aesthetic was then adopted by fangirls in the United States, Europe, and other countries.
Yes, and they started emulating her specific rock style, her vocal approach, and her newly globalized dancing techniques.
So that mid-90s image, which was so unique to Latin rock, became a kind of universal blueprint for performance.
It did. And while the rocker aesthetic defined that early stage, the sources also note that in later years, a different visual motif became a focal point.
Her barefoot style of performing.
Yes, that became another significant part of her image. It just demonstrates how enduring and impactful every deliberate choice about her presentation has been, creating new, recognizable touch points for her audience to connect with.
So while that powerful aesthetic defined her initial cultural resonance, it's the longevity of that influence that gave the fan base time to organize.
Into a structure that is truly astonishing in its scope.
Which brings us to the organizational scale of this audience.
And the Shakira Fandom is considered, in the sources, to be the most extensive fan base for an overall Latin artist ever recorded.
That's a huge statement. And when you have a community of that vastness, the way they define themselves becomes crucial.
Our sources highlight an interesting detail about their identity,
They state that the name of the fandom is not decided by themselves or by the media.
which suggests a very organic grassroots identity formation outside of any top-down branding efforts. What does that suggest to you about their loyalty?
Well, it feels deeper, more authentic.
That's a fascinating detail because in the modern, heavily marketed world, so many fandoms operate under names established by management or the media. The fact that their names emerged organically suggests a deeper, more grassroots loyalty.
And the sources identify two widely used names. The first and most common in Latin America is simply Shaki fans,
Correct. And the second is Wolfies.
which is a clear reference to a later career persona.
And this is the crucial context for you as the listener. Wolfies directly connects to her 2009 album, She-Wolf.
That period marked a distinct shift in her public imagery and performance style, didn't it?
A huge shift. It was more fantastical, electronic, and highly choreographic, a move further from her acoustic rock roots.
So the adoption of Wolfies as a name shows that the fans evolved with her. They embraced these major stylistic shifts and used the new persona as a collective identity.
They did, although, of course, major media outlets often just refer to them more generally as Shakira fans.
What's truly impressive, though, is the deep history and the formal organization underpinning this immense structure. This is far from being just a casual collection of digital followers.
Not at all. These groups have tangible roots, some dating back decades. The organization is a testament to the longevity of her career and the foundational connection to her origins.
And the sources explicitly mention one of the oldest and most significant groups, the official fans club Shakira Barranquilla.
Composed of users from her actual Colombian city of origin, Barranquilla. That local connection, serving as the earliest physical root, provides a foundational legitimacy and historical anchor for the entire wider fan structure.
And geographically, the spread is immense. Many local clubs use creative names that reflect the artist's most famous works.
Which provides a sense of internal culture and a shared language. Take the official Peruvian fan club, Club Shakira Peru,
Founded remarkably early, back in 1996.
cementing its immediate connection to the original Shakira mania period.
And we see clever linguistic and cultural markers in the club names, demonstrating both devotion and a shared sense of humor.
Like the official Mexican fan club named Las Caderas Mexico.
Which is a direct and immediate play on her globally monumental hit, Hips Don't Lie.
It's an effective way of localizing her global hits and shows fans taking creative ownership of her brand.
But the reach isn't confined to the Americas, which really underscores the true global footprint of this fandom.
Not at all. The sources make a point of mentioning the presence of fan clubs, even in places like Japan.
Noting that they were actively present, waiting for her arrival in the Asian country.
For a fan base that originated so strongly in Latin rock and Hispanic communities, that level of sustained global reach is extraordinary.
So when we examine this profound organizational structure, it's clear this is not simply for socializing.
No, it translates directly into organized, impactful action.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the crucial concept of fan activism.
This is where the structural integrity of the fandom really shines. The concept of fan activism, as documented in the sources, is highly organized and deeply philanthropic.
It's a formalized commitment. Shakira fans annually dedicate themselves to carrying out charity work in favor of the community, often connecting back to her own foundation's mission.
And the nature of this charitable work is detailed, specific, and localized. It highlights a deep community investment rather than just general fundraising.
We have a powerful example from the Peruvian fan club, Club Shakira Peru. Every year, they organize the so-called Shaki Chocolatadas.
That's a fascinating tradition. Can you detail what the Shaki Chocolatadas actually involve?
Certainly. It's much more than just a gathering. It's an entire annual event dedicated to providing crucial winter support. The gathering is specifically organized around serving hot chocolate.
A staple comfort during the Peruvian winter.
Exactly. And it's part of a broader effort to provide a Christmas dinner to the poorest children in the country.
And this effort isn't just a simple one-off donation.
No, the sources imply a complex logistical effort. It involves securing venues, coordinating volunteers, and ensuring the distribution reaches those children who are most in need. It's a deeply tangible, localized, and heartwarming annual philanthropic campaign driven entirely by fan initiative.
Then we have the Colombian fan club. They demonstrated an even more complex, multi-step philanthropic project focused on sustainability and education.
They organized the donation of 400 new notebooks.
Which sounds impressive on its own, but the process behind acquiring those notebooks is where the structural depth really comes through.
That process is truly sophisticated. These notebooks were not simply purchased in bulk. They were extracted from already used, recycled notebooks.
That the fans gathered through a national-level collection effort.
Yes, and this bulk material was then transported and transformed by a specific foundation, demonstrating a partnership between the fan club and an established nonprofit, which processed the recycled paper into 400 new notebooks.
That's a staggering level of coordination. They essentially established a national collection network, sourced raw materials, partnered with a third party for processing, and then distributed the final educational product.
And all managed by volunteers. It speaks volumes about their commitment. It's not just about writing a check. It's about executing a complex logistical process that turns national waste into a usable educational resource.
This kind of hands-on, sustainable activism moves beyond simple fan support and enters the realm of recognized community service.
It does, and beyond physical charity, the fandom maintains a powerful and sustained multimedia presence, reflecting their ongoing engagement in the digital era.
And the necessity of documenting her legacy.
Indeed. The longevity of her career requires continuous discussion and analysis, and the community has responded by creating dedicated audio platforms. The sources confirm the existence of several podcasts dedicated mostly or exclusively to analyzing Shakira's music, history, and current work.
We have specific examples noted underscoring the history of this digital presence. One is Shakipedia, a Shakira podcast.
which has a surprisingly long lifespan. It launched all the way back in 2002.
And it's available across major services like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, ensuring broad access.
And another one is the cleverly titled Hits Don't Lie.
Much like the Mexican fan club's name, it uses a fun and recognizable play on her famous song title.
The proliferation of these dedicated, long-running audio platforms underscores the intense commitment this community has to documenting, archiving, and celebrating every phase of her career, turning analysis into an ongoing group activity.
Now, moving from these organized external actions to personal connection, the sources also document how Shakira cultivates a very direct and engaging relationship with her audience.
Both during large concerts and in chance meetings outside the official schedule. These interactions often become foundational memories for the fans.
During the Sun Comes Out World Tour, for instance, the sources detail how she would intentionally invite selected fans to join her on stage,
To perform a belly dancing routine alongside her. This level of intimate, physical participation solidifies a deeply personal connection that fans feel with her unique performance style.
And the sources recount a particularly powerful and compassionate response that occurred during her performance at the massive Azteca Stadium in 2017.
A fan managed to bypass security, ran onto the stage, and embraced the artist.
When security immediately moved to intervene and separate the fan from her, Shakira reportedly stepped in herself.
That detail is crucial. She prevented security from forcibly separating the emotional fan, and instead of escalating the incident, she paused the show to give the fan a photo of the two of them together.
That specific, compassionate action transforming what was clearly a security breach into a moment of genuine human connection speaks volumes about her commitment to respecting the intensity of individual fan devotion.
It really does, however.
We must now address the complex and difficult reality detailed in the sources regarding the darker side of the celebrity-fan dynamic.
Yes. While the vast majority of the fandom operates within the positive, supportive, and philanthropic sphere we just discussed, the sources make it clear that global stardom carries severe security and personal challenges.
It's a necessary part of the story.
We must address the documented reality. Shakira herself has witnessed and endured various instances of harassment and obsessed fans throughout her career.
And these incidents are not minor.
No. The sources document these individuals taking extreme actions, attempting to attack the celebrity, or repeatedly trying to violate her privacy and personal boundaries.
And some of these documented incidents escalate to a level that is deeply concerning and genuinely frightening.
The sources convey that some of these extreme individuals even expressed in documented communications the desire to kill her.
And when we discuss fandom, we have to acknowledge that this level of extreme behavior represents a documented, constant, and severe security and safety threat for the artist.
We report this information with sympathy for the severe psychological and practical challenges she faces daily.
And this is not just a matter of isolated anecdotes. These security issues have been the subject of public record.
No, they haven't. The sources highlight that media outlets, including major publications like HLA and La Vanguardia, have provided coverage of these concerns.
They reported details, such as the acusador or stalker leaving harassing messages outside her private residence.
They demonstrated the invasive nature of this type of obsession.
This stark contrast between the organized charity fans raising funds for children and these isolated but severe examples of obsession and threat is perhaps the most difficult aspect of the fandom to reconcile.
But it is the vital part of the story provided by our sources regarding the cost of being a global icon. It sets up the tension between adoration that builds community and a devotion that devolves personal boundaries and privacy.
Right. Now, transitioning to a massive and enduring positive cultural output of the fandom, we need to dedicate some time to the culture of imitation and tribute.
Yes. The sources confirm that professional Shakira impersonators and tribute acts have maintained high levels of popularity since at least the mid-2000s and continue to perform for thousands internationally.
And the origins of this imitation, as we briefly noted earlier, tie directly back to the initial Shakira mania period in the mid-1990s.
This is when Latin youth first started mimicking that distinctive rocker look, specifically the braids and the rock-infused style that was portrayed so vividly on the cover of her second studio album.
But this wasn't just passive appreciation. It was active emulation and performance that defined cultural movements in multiple countries.
Exactly. Young people in places like Peru, Colombia, Mexico, and Argentina were actively imitating her characteristic dance movements and her early lyrical style.
And the sources elaborate that this initial rocker aesthetic, complete with the skin-tight hip huggers and sometimes funky hats, truly set off a stylistic revolution that resonated far beyond the stage.
And as the artist evolved, her imitators followed suit with impressive precision. After her major crossover to the mainstream and her visual makeover,
Most notably, the shift to the iconic blonde hair.
young fans rapidly updated their look to resemble this new global image, specifically adopting blonde hair and incorporating belly dance belts into their performance costumes.
And this adaptation was so prevalent that Colombian talent contests saw young women attempting to move and sing in a manner as similar to the new Shakira as possible.
It made the evolution of her image an active catalyst for regional performance culture.
The tribute culture itself, it manifests across a vast spectrum, doesn't it? Spanning from the casual and amateur to the highly professional.
It does. On the amateur side, the sources note the pervasive presence of imitation at fan conventions, specific theme parties, various cosplays, skits, and drag performances,
There's a specific cultural reference point, the documented drag performance in a gay club replicating her famous high-energy Super Bowl halftime show.
which showcases how her persona is adopted and celebrated within diverse performance communities.
Then we move into the professional realm. These are the dedicated tribute bands and the skilled impressionists whose entire careers revolve around reenacting her most famous presentations.
Things like her appearances at the Latin Grammys or the massively viewed Super Bowl performance, these acts often perform for large paying crowds, demonstrating the economic viability of this tribute industry.
And the professional impersonators have achieved remarkable visibility due to their widespread and consistent presence on television reality shows.
Across the entire American continent and Spain, this media saturation speaks directly to the enduring cultural relevance of her image as a performance persona. It remains a benchmark for talent competitions.
The sources list several key platforms where these tributes are a common staple. Shows like Mi Nombre Es Buscando una Estrella.
And the popular Chilean and Peruvian show Yo Soy. This cross-border television presence solidifies the Latin American cultural reach, showing a shared regional appreciation for her performance mastery.
And the recognition is equally strong in Europe.
The Spanish reality competition series Tu Cardo Me Suena has featured Shakira tributes on multiple occasions, with noteworthy performances coming from celebrities like Leslie Shaw and Eva Soriano.
It confirms that the desire to embody her specific performing style, particularly her unique vocal texture and hip movements, is a persistent and high-value theme in global pop culture talent programs.
And to truly understand the impact of this tribute culture, we must detail the careers of some of the most successful professional impersonators.
Their lives have been fundamentally shaped by this devotion.
The career trajectory of Shaka Becca is perhaps the most detailed and successful example. Her commitment started very early.
She began imitating Shakira's specific dance movements at the age of 12 back in 1996.
At the very beginning of Shakira Mania, this intense commitment drove her to participate in Venezuelan television programs.
And her story culminates in a truly special moment of recognition. During the show Buscando una Estrella, where she was personifying Shakira, she met her idol at the tender age of 15.
That is a generational moment for any tribute artist. To receive that direct acknowledgement, her success was not fleeting either. Her high level of accuracy and dedication led to her being called to Mexico to continue her work in Prodiando.
And perhaps the most significant formal recognition came more recently. In 2022, she was awarded the Golden Microphone Award
by the Chamber of Broadcasters of Mexico in the United States.
And that award wasn't just for participation. It was specifically for her outstanding career as Shakira's double.
It was.
For the audience who knows the detail, what aspects of her performance made Shaki Becca's imitations so recognized? Was it just the look or the vocal mastery?
It was the comprehensive package, but the vocal and physical details are absolutely key. The sources imply a mastery not just of the overall appearance, but of the specific, highly recognizable vocal techniques Shakira employs.
Such as the distinctive vocal yodel or the subtle tonal shifts in her Spanish rock delivery.
Exactly. And you couple that with the rigorous training needed to accurately replicate the complex belly dance and Latin dance movements, her success demonstrates a professional commitment to capturing the very essence of the star's performance persona.
We also find groups focusing specifically on preserving the sound of the original Shakira Mania period.
Yes, the Chiquego Sordomudos band. They're a fantastic example. A Peruvian tribute band that primarily focuses on performing songs exclusively from the early defining albums.
Pies Descalzos and Donde Están los Ladrones?
During their concerts across their native country, their specialization shows that the original rock sound maintains a dedicated, nostalgic audience demanding specific, non-crossover repertoire.
And regionally, the sources identify figures who dominate national tribute culture. We have to mention Noelia Quiroz.
Who became nationally famous as the Chilean Shakira. She became the most famous impersonator in Chile after her debut on programs like My Name is Quirenos, and her career continues through performing tribute acts throughout the country.
Solidifying her status as a cultural fixture there.
Finally, the sources show Shakira's influence creating an aspirational blueprint for performers even outside the Latin world,
They cite the Indian singer and actress Neha Kakkar.
who was frequently referred to as the Shakira of India early in her youth. This was due to similar stylistic choices she shared, demonstrating how Shakira's image became a global touchstone for independent, energetic female performers worldwide.
This analysis confirms that the Shakira fandom is not just a passive audience, but a massive, highly structured, and deeply impactful cultural phenomenon. Let's try to synthesize these comprehensive findings.
Well, what stands out most profoundly is the sheer organized breadth of this community. It is a true global force defined by its explosive, genre-redefining origins in Shakira mania
That rocker aesthetic that launched 1,000 imitations.
and its extensive organizational structure. This structure includes fan clubs recognized internationally for serious philanthropy, like the complex logistical execution of the Shaki Chocolatadas and the Notebook Recycling Project.
And this incredible loyalty and organization continue to be formally recognized at the highest levels of the entertainment industry.
Yes, the sources note the recent significant nomination of the official fans club Shakira Barranquilla for Best Fandom of the Year at the Nuestra Tierra Awards in 2025.
Which shows that their dedication and structured loyalty are acknowledged and celebrated within the official musical ecosystem itself years after their founding.
And understanding this community is absolutely essential to grasping the full cultural weight and enduring relevance of Shakira herself. She is not just an artist. She is the center of a creative, philanthropic, and intensely dedicated global movement.
That sentiment, the feeling of pervasive aspiration and identification, is beautifully captured by a source quote from Carlos
He
Vives.
said, "You will see that there are Caramberas of all ages, and there are Shakiras of all ages who knew what they were doing there, the happiness with which they did it, with which they represented you. They all wanted to be you."
That idea that the fandom is fundamentally about personal aspiration and representation is foundational to its identity.
Our exploration has presented the full spectrum of human connection generated by this icon. We've examined the highest forms of positive organization, deeply planned charitable efforts that directly benefit children in need, right alongside the documented extreme examples of obsession, the invasion of privacy, and the expressed threats against the celebrity herself.
So, given this documented reality where we see devotion that inspires national charity right next to obsession that generates severe security threats, what does this tell us about the spectrum of human connection and identification with global celebrity icons in the digital age?
It's a profound question about where collective identity ends and where the difficult reality of boundary dissolution begins, especially when an idol is so universally and passionately embraced.
Thanks for listening.